Hello and welcome to a video in which I'm going to try very hard not to crack up laughing for the duration, because just thinking about sitting down and talking about these two films that I'm going to be talking about in this video is already making me smile because they're very funny and I had an absolute blast with them. It is the new Eureka release, the Royal Tramp Collection, starring Stephen Chow, directed by Wong Jing. I'd never heard of these films before, as is the usual tale in these Hong Kong reviews, where I'm going in pretty much completely blind. And I had no knowledge of Stephen Chow until the recent release from Beijing with Love, which I absolutely loved and I would now class as one of the funniest films I've ever seen. So I was chomping at the bit to get to these and to see what the further fuss was about with Stephen Chow, and is he as funny as he was in From Beijing with Love. And so these films informed me just a little bit more about what Stephen Chow is all about. So I will be doing full in-depth Blu-ray reviews of both movies, digging into the extras in more depth. But in this video, I will just be giving you more of a kind of brief overview and just my I'm just cracking up thinking about it. My general thoughts on these two films. I really like the artwork on the front here. Darren Wheeling did this, and it just highlights some of the more memorable characters across both movies. And in particular, I love this hairstyle of, I think it's Bridget Lin from the second film. But anyway, so 1992, Royal Tramp and Royal Tramp 2. It's a two-part film. You could technically call the second movie a sequel, but yeah, you could technically call the second film a sequel. I just blow the dust of my carpet off of this slipcover. You could technically call the second film. We just balance. Why is it not balancing? Why is it not refusing to balance? It's like it's there you go. Okay. You could technically call the second film, Royal Tramp 2, a sequel to the original, but it is a two-part film. It's a two-hander, because if you haven't seen the first one, you'd be completely lost, and if you've seen the first film, you will still be completely lost. I was struggling a lot with these films in terms of the characters, the double crossing, you know, who's crisscrossing who, basically. So the audio commentaries were hugely helpful to me, both in kind of pointing out a few things that I might have missed with a lot of the characters that kind of crop up in the film, and how they relate to Stephen Chow's central character of Wei Subo. And also the commentaries helped in kind of just almost a camaraderie of like, yeah, we also get it, it's confusing. There's a lot going on in these films. Now, to go into the Royal Tramp movies without, you know, with the kind of expectation perhaps of a tightly written plot with all these characters, that there's this incredible intricate web that all comes together at the end, and it's just a beautiful kind of, you know, coalescence of, you know, brilliant characters, and you know, just a script that really brings everything around, and at the end you're like, that all makes sense and every little thread works. You're not gonna get that, at least in my opinion. And you're not coming to the film for that. What you're coming to this film and these films for is almost like a pure distilled form of entertainment. They're very sexual films, particularly the first film. I would say they're very penile heavy humor. You know, if there's anything to do with a dick, they're gonna try and force it in there. So, God, I'll leave that in for free. That was not an intentional pun, but it works, and I think Stephen Chow would approve. At least the Stephen Chow who made these movies. So there's a lot of penis-heavy stuff going on in the first film. So, and again, I'm not going to get into full detail on everything, but the movies, they're set during, oh God, is it the Qing Dynasty or the Ming Dynasty? Because there's one or the other that's trying to be overthrown. And our central character, Wei Subo, played by Stephen Chow, he's this lowly kind of jester. They call him a bard on the back of the Blu-ray. You know, he's a nobody, but he's an entertainer, you know, and he kind of entertains people at a local brothel where his sister, played by Sandra Ng, kind of works and kind of, anyway, this is a very interesting beginning to this character, and just the journey that he goes on across both films for me is probably funnier than most jokes in the film. I didn't laugh as much as From Beijing with Love, and I think that the spy genre that film is so heavily lampooning is really ripe to be taken the piss out of, whereas this is a period set film. It feels a bit different in that sense, and some of the jokes are really heavy on kind of the dick stuff, right? And it's kind of like, oh god, you kind of roll your eyes more than actually laugh. But just the central joke of this character, in a sense, across again both movies, and the incredible journey he takes in terms of like his various titles that he acquires along the way. He Forrest Gumps his way through this entire two-part film, where again he's just this like jester at the beginning of the movie, and by the end he's like an absolute martial arts master, a government kind of official, just protected and kind of like, he's got all these wives, but it's just ridiculous. Like he just kind of like falls into everything, and he's a devious character too. Like he realizes, because he gets at the very beginning of the film, just by kind of an accident, basically. He kind of in a sense he's doing the right thing, but he gets pulled into the wrong thing. He gets inducted into this secret society that's trying to overthrow the government. He's sent with a mission to infiltrate the royal palace. The majority of the first movie actually takes place inside the royal palace of the emperor, and I really like that as a central location. The set design in these movies is absolutely incredible. Just some awesome, like, I just loved the visual feel of it. And you see a lot, and I've been watching some older kind of Hong Kong movies and Taiwanese movies as well, where there's a lot of sets and stuff, and like the backgrounds are kind of, I always feel like even in like daytime setting, you kind of have like a painted backdrop that really kind of signposts the artifice of the sets. This, like, it feels a lot more polished, and I don't really think about that at all. And I just think I love the set design in the film, and even the cinematography, the lighting, and we'll get to that in a second as well. The choreography, which is a big part of why I love these two films. But most of the first film takes place in the royal palace, and kind of all the different machinations and characters, and the villains, and Wei Subo is kind of getting into the good books of the emperor, and also the emperor's sister, and then there's the empress. There's just all these different characters, and there's a lot of fun to be had. I really enjoyed it more than I found it funny. I was trying to keep up with a lot of it, but the action scenes and some of the gore, and it's not even like gross out gore. It's like it's stuff that happens so quickly. Like someone will fly up into the air with a sword and come down on someone from the top of their head and just split their body in half, and it happens so quickly. You're like, what just happened? And then like it's they don't linger on it to the point of like a Saw or a Hostel. Like it's just there's gory stuff in it, but it's tastefully done in a sense, if that makes any kind of if there's any kind of logic to that, because there's very gross, brutal stuff in it in very brief flashes, and I like that, because it was in some of these other films I've been watching, you get kind of like people getting slashed with swords and all this kind of stuff, and there's not a drop of blood to be found. These are bloody movies, and so it's a bit more truer to kind of what would happen if you cut someone in half. So there's a lot of that stuff going on. And, Wei Subo, Stephen Chow, is just kind of winging it through life and just stumbling into, like, higher positions in the royal palace. He's getting these titles, he's getting things bestowed upon him. So by the time you start the second film, he's loving life, and he's made, but then there's all sorts of other complications that come into it, of course. And the second film, I think I loved it more than the first film because of the staging, the locations, the fight sequences, the characters. I preferred Bridget Lin was a really great addition. I want to actually make sure that is the right actress's name in the sequel. Very briefly again, we'll get into it in detail in a future video, which I'm really keen to kind of start working on. Actually, I might start filming those reviews tonight, because I have gone through everything. It's just I wanted to get something up for the release week of this, because I fall behind on the properly produced reviews. But you get a reversible sleeve, so you get one for Royal Tramp and then one for Royal Tramp 2. I can't seem to wrangle my my words around that title, Royal Tramp and its sequel. And then we get, and actually there's one film on each disc, so it's a 2-disc set, and I like that. They didn't just squeeze both movies onto one disc, and they're from 4K restorations. I thought they looked phenomenal. And, you know, just in general, how lucky are we with these releases? I recently acquired a couple of 35mm scans and restorations. Well, not even restorations, but just like 35mm print scans of James Cameron's movies. And there's a real charm to that. But you really see how rough some of these prints really are in. The actual work that must go into these restorations is really, even I underestimate them, you know. And I just thought these films looked fantastic. So we got a booklet, of course. We'll get into that again in due course. But I wanted to get the actress's name right for the sequel, because there's the Empress character in the first movie. She's played by a different actress in the second movie. Although you see the first actress in the beginning of part 2 as well. But there's a cool transformation that goes on there. And it is, yeah, Bridget Lynn. Okay, yeah. So I really liked her a lot. And again, I can get into all sorts of, you know, kind of digging into the cast and stuff. But I really enjoyed her in the sequel. She's got this outlandish kind of hairdo with the very long thing that's on the front of the slipcover as well. But I think the second film is maybe weaker than the first. But there's, I don't know, there's just a lot more, I don't know if I'd say a lot more action, but I just love the set pieces. They were thrilling, they were fun. And it also felt like everything was unraveling a lot quicker for Wei Subo. So he's kind of, you know, there's a lot of stuff going on, and he's trying to kind of, you know, find his way, and also kind of keep what he's got, and also bite off more than he can chew. And that's the thing that is kind of fun about his character, is that he always wants more, and he's always pushing the boundaries of what he can get. And so just when you think he's got it made, he kind of pushes for more. So in a sense, he's not really the best kind of protagonist for a movie. But there's kind of I've got to give credit to Stephen Chow's performance, because there is a charm to Wei Subo. Almost in an Austin Powers kind of way, where it's like, oh, Austin, you womanizer. You know? Whereas Austin Powers is a bit more down to earth, a bit more of a kind of truly charming, kind of truly, you know, there's a bit more, I don't know, I'll say innocence there, but it's not a one-to-one comparison. But I just think that he manages to make it likable enough that you just enjoy seeing him. Like, how is he going to get out of this one? Actually, it reminds me a lot of Charlie Chaplin. You know, I always felt like Buster Keaton, I'm going off on a tangent, I always felt like Buster Keaton was the more honest of the two as a character. He was always like a really earnest, kind of, again, honest character, whereas the Tramp was kind of, you know, a bit of a devious one, bit of a scamp, bit of a scoundrel, bit of a rascal, you know. That actually is that's a comparison I'd rather make than Austin Powers is. Well, the Royal Tramp movies, I mean, I didn't even think about that connection. It sounds like I just set that up and made it seem like I stumbled across that. That comparison has probably been made before by people, but yeah, he does feel like the Tramp character from Charlie. I don't know why. No, that is probably why that's the English title, to make that connection. But I promise you, I came to that just as the synapses were firing there as you were watching me on the camera, on the screen, I should say. I'm seeing myself on the camera, and that's a really good comparison. He is a bit like Chaplin. He's a bit devious, a bit underhanded, you know, a bit scrappy. He'll do what it takes to get ahead, but you kind of love him all the same, you know. But in this one, it's a bit more overt than Charlie Chaplin when he's like sleeping with these. But there's some fun jokes, you know, where there's these two sisters, and they supposedly can feel everything, you know, that the other person feels. He's like, right, I'm going to test that. So he sits one woman outside his bed, pulls the other one inside his bed, and draws the curtains. And the woman on the outside, that's the only one that we see on camera, she starts moaning and groaning. So you're like, oh God, okay. And she pulls open the curtain. He's just giving her a back massage. So that stuff was really funny. So I like that kind of the subverting the expectations of the dirtier jokes that you've already seen up until that point. That was very clever, I thought. There's probably so much lost in translation. Well, I know there is, because you get all that detail from the commentaries, and I really enjoyed those a lot. There's one more actually that I have to finish, which is the Frank Jang and Michael Worth commentary. No, it's F.J. DeSanto. Frank Jang does commentaries with different people on different releases. Yeah, so those two, Frank Jang and FJ DeSanto, they do commentaries on both movies, and then Arna Venema and Michael Ito also do commentaries on both movies. You're getting 4 commentaries on this release, 2 archival interviews with Wong Jing, the director, and then another archival interview with Helena Law Lan, who has a brief role in the second movie. You get trailers as well in the booklet, so 4K restoration. This is a fantastic release. It really is. That is a perfect word for it. I had such a blast with these, and what really tipped it over the edge for me, I think, is the fact that, which I found out in the commentaries, was not surprised in any way, shape, or form, and it just kind of felt like a eureka moment. Motherfucker, I didn't. It feels like I've made a list of things to kind of work in that'll be fun puns, and it's not that way at all. It just happened that way. It was a eureka moment, no pun intended, when I heard that the action director on these films was Tony Ching. Is it Ching Su? Where is he? He's on here somewhere. Ching Su Tung. Tony Ching. That's the anglicized name. He's the action director. Now, he is director himself, and he directed one of my all-time favorite films, A Chinese Ghost Story. And there are moments in this that feel a Chinese ghost story-esque, which is the only way I can describe it. It's the blue lights, it's the wire work, it's the kind of, even the wide-angle lenses. Just this kind of the perspective. I don't know, which doesn't make sense because he was the action director, not the director or the DP, but I know it had that flavor of a Chinese ghost story to it if the humor was much more broad. So I found that really interesting, but it just, the fight scenes, they're just so gorgeous and fluid and brutal, And there's a particular kind of final showdown at the end of the second film, and it kind of takes place in broad daylight on just like a random kind of quarry somewhere. And I thought, this is a bit uninspiring for the end of the film, I have to say. And it was kind of a bit of a letdown. And then suddenly they just fall through the earth, and they end up in this fucking incredible set. It's this long stone pathway and this massive kind of stone dragon head and the lights and everything. Oh, it's just amazing. I literally was sat there going, I don't know. I just got really excited over the set design of the final showdown in the sequel. So that's the Royal Tramp movies pretty much in a nutshell. Hi, this is me in a nutshell. I had to do it, as Austin Powers referenced earlier in the video. As you can tell, I'm in a very good mood because I just really love these films. I don't think they're great films. I don't think they're masterpieces. They're not as funny as From Beijing with Love, but the action scenes were just phenomenal. It looked gorgeous. Even like random shots of extras, would be framed so beautifully. There's even just it's there for half a second. Like, oh, it's a really nice shot. So beautifully shot. Some really great actors in this, just really both hamming it up, but also just having a good time. You can feel it, There's just snappy moments of the kind of the patter between the characters, and the comedy I really, really enjoyed. And I just enjoyed this journey of this twat, Wei Subo, who's just, out to just all about himself. And it just seems that by the end, he's got way too many people on his side. But, it's kind of one of those, again, it goes back to the one of the great characters of cinema back in the old days of the Tramp. So it's kind of fitting, I suppose. So that's my thoughts on the Royal Tramp collection. 2 movies by Wong Jing and starring Stephen Chow. So there we go. These Hong Kong releases, man, they're not missing. Where I'll leave that in for free too. Where is the miss? I'm just curious, when are Eureka gonna release a Hong Kong film that I'm gonna be like, it wasn't very good, or even shit, It just seems like it's about a year now that I've been kind of reviewing these and kind of talking about them and learning more about them and exploring them, and they keep hitting, to varying degrees of success, of course, but there hasn't been one I haven't liked. They're all at least really good, and in this case, an absolute blast. So that's been my brief review. look out for, I'll do 2 individual ones for each movie, show you clips, talk about the extras in more depth and stuff. The commentaries I just had a blast with, especially the ones with Arne Venom and Michael Eder. They just have the perfect balance of just, information, but also there's a fun quality. Like, I just enjoy listening to them kind of laugh about random incidental stuff during the movie as well. Like right at the very end of the second movie, they're just talking about, look at that extra in the background there. He's had a long day. I like the levity that they bring to the commentaries as well. Anyway, and Frank Jang, just an absolute fountain upon a fountain of information. So you're really getting the goods of the commentaries on this and the extras. And again, they just looked fantastic. I'm just repeating myself, but I was really impressed with these and had an absolute blast, which I've said about 3 or 4 times now. So I will wrap it up here. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed as much as I enjoyed these. Probably not. And I'll see you in the next one.